So what do you want to talk about today?
Okay, so first, we need to do a better job of introing the
I agree.
podcast. A lot of our viewers out here and listeners have been saying, hey, sometimes it's like you guys have just been talking.
And we just hit record. I wonder why that happens.
That's probably because you guys are right.
Are we even recording right now?
We are recording. There's a red button there.
Are we hitting that one?
Booyaka shot. That's why I keep you around, bro.
I know.
What's behind the hat? Definitely not the recording equipment. I also love that we are pretty basic white girls right now.
Yeah, well,
Not pumpkin spice, though.
we should explain this.
So first, welcome back to the Hang and Hunt podcast. I actually got it right this time. Pretty excited. Today, we're just going to talk about some things that are happening in the industry, some changes with the podcast.
Yep.
We still don't have a title sponsor. If any of you out there, if anybody wants to contribute to our drinking problem, it's not a problem. It doesn't really affect our life negatively.
My wife was not happy when Pornhub said, hey, we'd sponsor you guys, and I had to turn that one down.
I think I'm the only guy on OnlyFans who gets paid to keep his clothes on. No, stop. It's like watching a train wreck.
Add a trash bag on your head,
Don't
sir.
do it.
Yeah, when you have an OnlyFans account and people call you sir, it's not good.
I'm waiting for my sugar daddy to appear.
So let's talk about Starbucks here, because the other day we finished up a hunt and just had a bloody mess in the back of our vehicles and came back home a little bit late. And I wanted to celebrate, so got some Kill cocktails, got a little 6-pack. Your wife had made baked ziti for you to share with your family.
Delicious.
It was awesome. But you were supposed to eat it with your family. And what happens? I roll in.
We sat outside drinking for a while.
We had a couple, but we weren't bad. But
No.
But then we come in, and she's trying to put the kids down because it's already late, like past bedtime.
Yeah.
And we're stuffing our faces with the big ziti that you were supposed to share with your family.
Seconds and thirds.
And she's like, now you're drinking? And I was like, no. I just got a 6-pack, and we each had like one. Maybe we were on our second one,
Yeah.
but like we weren't like drinking.
I was at the point though where it determines the evening, and I was ready to go. Like I was ready to drink a lot. I was having a good time.
As soon as you cracked the first one, you were ready.
Yeah. And I was just like, she's like, you guys are drinking? And I was like, no, we're just like having a couple beers with dinner. And then she was like, okay, just say goodnight to your daughter. And I was like, and you're like, I'm going to roll. I was like, no, don't go. Like, I'm ready to, like, I'm already in trouble. I'm ready to drink.
Yeah.
Now.
And and I was caught like in that moment where it's like,
where are my
she's
shoes?
mad. He's in trouble. I'm in between them. If she swings, he ducks, I get punched. I'm like, let me finish. So today I texted Taylor. I said, does your wife want Starbucks? Because I'm driving by right now. And he's like, oh, hell yeah. Make it 2. So I'm like, well, I'm going to be basic too. But I got a caramel latte.
Hi, I have just a grande cold brew.
Yeah, whatever.
Delicious.
I'm going to suck this thing down though.
There a few things better than Starbucks. Yesterday, my wife and our coffee pot did not work. So we got rid of the Keurig because I got tired of waiting and I went through way too many K-Cups. Coffee pot, it's been great. We've had it since about April. At about 6:15 yesterday morning, I'm like asleep in bed, and Emily, my wife, gets out of the shower. She's like the loudest human ever in the morning, by the way.
On purpose, stomping around, saying she's basically passively, aggressively saying, get your ass out of bed.
Aggressively, not passively. She's aggressively being
she's
like,
throwing shoes at you.
Well, but I feel like it's so not fair because when I get up to hunt, I'm like tiptoeing around. I'm like, I get out of there right away. Don't turn any lights on. For her, I mean, her hairdryer sounds like a freaking airplane jet engine. So loud. And I feel like she makes a point. Whatever. So anyways, she wakes me up. She's like, the coffee pot's not working. I'm like, I was sleeping. I don't need coffee right now.
I'm going to need it in 2 hours.
That's a 45-minute from now problem. Not an hour. Really? That's cool because I was snoring. Did you hear me snoring?
Did you push her on the face and say snooze?
Grabbed her like a bowling ball. So yeah. And there's the explicit tag for this week's show. Yeah, so I'm like, great. Let's go downstairs. We had no coffee. And I ended up making 2 Starbucks trips yesterday.
Oh, good for you.
I am hooked on the caffeine. I need it in my life. I need that sugar.
The shugs. I know that this caramel latte is a little too sweet for me. I should have gotten just freaking black coffee, but I don't really like their black coffee either.
Well, they have 2 different flavors.
Okay, I didn't know that. I don't go to Starbucks that much.
They have pumpkin flavor. No, they have the Sumatra or whatever, which is like dark. Like I do not like that one. And then the Pike's Place, which is a medium roast. You know what else I've gotten into lately? This is my 3rd day in a row of it. I'm into wine. I've been drinking some wine.
Do you call it drinking? Because a lot of people call it guzzling.
I drank a bottle of wine last night, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it's not
I
bad.
enjoyed.
We there's all these vineyards all around us, right? Mm-hmm. And where I live, I'm like in between like 10 vineyards.
You just got permission at one.
I did.
Is that for us or just for you?
I haven't confirmed yet. No. It's definitely for me. But you're going to help out. But it's not a vineyard. It's a brewery and a distillery. Right. I guess this is one of the only, I guess it's farm to bottle, because they grow their own corn and, and make their own whiskey there. So I haven't visited yet. I was going to, but we're about to go on the Sika hunt. So that's going to wait another week too.
Yeah. I need to move some cameras around also. Well, we need to move some cameras around. Our
We've
cameras
got some work to do. Dude, It's like mid-October. Today's my wife's birthday, by the way.
I'm glad you're here hiding.
Yeah, I'm like, I just forgot.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you might be getting more Starbucks on the way home.
Well, I did do one thing. So people come to my house and they pull up and they look at our vehicles and they see this truck. And it's one of those Black Widow edition.
Yeah, your wife's truck.
Giant monster.
So awesome.
It's a big monster. And they're like, oh, man, I love your truck. I'm like, that's my wife's truck. And they laugh. And they're like, no, that truck. I'm like, that's my wife's truck. She named it the Bad Bitch. And it is. So one of her birthday presents was a full detail. So that's getting done today. And I was like, well, while they're doing it, might as well do the Suburban too, because I don't want to clean it.
What's funny is that conversation is exactly the one that you and I had when I pulled up and saw the bad Bissy.
It is. Everyone says it.
And I was like, dude,
I love
you got
your
a new truck. That's awesome. And you're like, that's not mine. It's my wife's. And I was like, yo, okay. And you're like, no, for real. And like, while I'm like, yo, okay, whatever, she walked out and was like, oh, what's up, Taylor? And I got in it. Actually, I'm sure she looked at me and just kind of like rolled her eyes and was like, great, Taylor's here.
Mm-hmm. We just talked
and we
about
proceeded to shoot a turkey gun off your deck.
Off my back patio. You're like, you think I can shoot this? I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I told my dad that every time you went to look at the target, I was changing your sight, so you had to keep shooting it over and over and over.
Nothing
again.
like that 3.5-inch turkey load. And I'm like, this damn thing's not sight. It keeps hitting the dirt.
I just got a Benelli Super Black Eagle.
Which one? The 3?
No,
2?
it's the 2.
It's like one of the best shotguns ever made.
I got it for $850,
nice.
And it has like a box of shells through it.
That's awesome.
Like I'm like, okay,
12,
thank
20?
you. 12. I mean, I couldn't pass it up. Just could not pass it up. So I haven't shot it yet. Still, I mean, it's like in the box. I haven't even opened it since I bought it.
I have a lot of, as you well are aware, I have a lot of those purchases in my life where I'm like, I have to have this. This is the best deal ever. I'm going to use this so much, and then it's still in the box.
On this episode of Hoarders,
yeah,
right?
I get accused of that by my spouse a lot.
Shocker.
I'm not a hoarder. Like I'm a neatly.
You do get rid of things though too. When you're not using them, you're like, hey, buddy, here, take this. You'll love it.
Yeah.
I never used it, but you're gonna love it. Huh?
I try to spread the wealth.
Yeah, you're a pretty generous guy. I appreciate that.
I'm a giver
and a receiver.
Yeah, not a taker though. So interestingly enough, I was going to get into something differently there, but I wanted to talk to you about 2 things. One, I have switched bow sights again.
Okay, so we went back and forth like 5 or 6 days ago.
Yeah,
and
I was like, I'm shooting a fixed pin.
I'm going fixed pins. I'm going multi-pin, fixed pin, and you were sold on it. And you switched it out, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I actually switched two bows out to fixed pin sliders and took them on 2 hunts. So just to catch people up, we've done a terrible job on podcasting. We've been traveling for work and hunting stuff. Our schedules did not mesh up, and when they did mesh up, we were drinking
hunting
beer and shooting deer.
Yeah.
Not in that order all the time. So, but we've had an incredibly productive September, like crushing deer.
Yeah.
I would venture to say I've killed more deer this September into now, it's like mid-October, than any before. I had 4 hunts in a row where I shot at least 2 deer. We had one a week ago. We shot 4. I mean, just laying them out.
I think I was thinking about the reasons for this.
It's the acorns.
It's the acorns. Remember last year, all of our properties, there were just a few trees that were dropping, white oaks, and obviously you guys know we've got these tiny properties everywhere, spread out everywhere. So, if there's a grove of, hardwood trees in a creek bottom, we might only have 2 acres in that entire creek bottom that we can hunt. So if the white oaks are dropping 500 yards away, well, that's where the deer are.
Yeah,
and that's what happened to us last fall, last September, October. But this year, it just seems like all of our properties, they're raining. And the meat factory with all the persimmons dropping right now is, boy.
Yeah. There's a reason it's called the Meat Factory. It's not just a clever name. It's not where the boys hang out. It's not the same place as that bar I accidentally walked to into Key West one time.
And then stayed.
Yeah, the drinks were cheap.
Yeah, because people were buying them for you. Hey, sir.
Hey, Mr.
Hey, sir, do you have an OnlyFans?
How about that beard? Yeah, those guys do not pay me to keep my clothes on. Apparently, I fit into a niche that I didn't know existed until Instagram came around, and I get lots of messages of very forward propositions,
No.
which I like to show my wife because I'm like, see, somebody wants me.
Are you jealous? She's like, go to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that, big boy.
Do they use fixed pin sites to look at you?
Probably. Hopefully they're focusing on the target.
So what made you go back and forth? What made you, number one, decide to go to fixed pins and then go back?
So I've been shooting the Garmin forever. Love the Garmin. Was helping Garmin with the now released Pro version of the site, and the features of the Pro were amazing. And so after using the Pro but not being able to put it on our videos or like be very careful, I'm always terrified to like leak gear. I do not want to be the guy who like...
Yeah, because when you sign an NDA, it basically says, we're going to cut you in half.
Yeah, and companies like, oh, I don't know, Garmin, First Light, Matthews, those NDAs are like this thick. And it's all how they're going to like bodily destroy me prison style. Like, nothing is in there. It's like, it's okay if you have an oopsie.
If you make a mistake.
Right.
We'll let you slide.
Yeah.
No, we won't.
So I like test it and then put it away. And so you had an experience in Colorado where your single pin cost you an animal. I've always enjoyed single pins for hunting here in the suburbs, but very rarely we shoot more than 20 yards.
Yeah.
There are spots where I can't shoot over 20 yards. The majority of spots I'm hunting in are so thick I can't shoot over 20 yards. But I love not having to range prior to taking the shot. And even though, like, without a range finding sight, when I get in the tree and, fixed pin or range finding sight, the first thing I do is I take my rangefinder out and I'm like, that I actually guess. So I play the little guessing game. I'm like, I think that tree's 22, and it's like 20 or whatever it is. But I figure out what my yardages are. Even though I've done that, when a deer walks in, I'm like watching, like, visualizing where that shot's going to take place. I'm like, okay, she's going to cross through over here. I'll range and I'll be like, oh, like, even though I know that tree's 22, for some reason I like to confirm that it's the right yardage. I love not having to have that additional movement with the Garmin. Like, what I do now is I just like lock in with my camera, and then when the deer comes in, I will like just wait and I don't have to do anything.
No.
Sometimes I'll range with the Garmin and like just verify that, like, okay, that tree is 22, so when I draw and range it. But one of the features of the Garmin that I love is the torque indicator. And so I love having the ability to see if I'm torquing the bow or not, because there's some situations in a saddle where you're like twisted up like a pretzel, where like you inevitably the deer is like always on your weak side or whatever it is. And like, I don't want to be introducing torque into the bow. So the fact that I don't have to move, or there's not an additional step of ranging and whatever. And then on top of that, the fact that like, I know that it'll show me the perfect pin. I don't know why I wanted to try a fixed pin sight. I think that like talking to you and your experience in Colorado, I just wanted to switch back to them. And fortunately, my hoarding ways, there are a couple laying around. And so I put them on 2 bows and then went on 2 hunts with them. One, I shot 3 deer. The other, I had some deer come in, ended up shooting 1, but just for some reason I was like, man, I did not like the ranging. I had to range again, go for the rangefinder. It's amazing how something that I used to do for like a decade that felt like second nature in the span of a couple of years, like I hate doing now.
No, I totally get it. And going back and forth, if you have the luxury of being able to do that, then yeah, do it. Because you're going to find your favorite, techniques and your favorite equipment.
For
and
sure.
that's just, you're just fine tuning. And, fortunately we have that opportunity to do that. I still go back a little bit to, like you said, for a decade you were doing a certain thing. I still go back to seeing those pins. And you said something that it really hit home with me because I felt the same way. I feel like I gap shoot better than if I put a pin on something.
Yeah.
So when I have those 5 pins and I know something's 35 yards, it's like, 30's up high, 40's down low, and right where I'm staring in between is death zone.
Yeah, I definitely gap shoot really well. The other thing I really like about having multiple fixed pins is looking at that arrow trajectory, right? So I like being able to know, okay, that tree is 34 yards, but there's some brush in the way, or I'm like shooting through a basketball hole or whatever, and I'll just hold my bow up and see. But what's cool on the Garmin
so let's kind of explain that for people who don't understand that. So if a deer's or target's at 35 yards, let's say, and you hold your bow up and you look at your 20-yard sight, your 20-yard pin, if at the 20-yard distance there's a branch and your 20-yard pin is touching that branch, guess what you're going to hit?
Yeah. Not the deer.
Yeah, not the deer. You're hitting that branch. So
Right.
that's a really good way to judge, can I thread the needle?
Yeah, looking at that trajectory. And so the new Garmin actually has a feature that shows you if something is in the way. So like where the peak of the trajectory is, which is cool. But what I like to do is I like to turn the pins on. So if you tap the range finding feature on the Garmin, it just brings up all your pins. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of like look through those potential shot holes because I'm bored and I'm also preparing for the shot, and just make sure that like my arrow is going to fly okay through that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm excited for you to try it out and for you to kind of provide your feedback on it. I think you'll really like it because it's really the best of both worlds as far as it's a multi-pin sight,
With a rangefinder,
but
all that's there.
Yeah, but it just has one pin that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of toggle it on and off with just the tap of the range finding button. And I think the level features, so like it shows you the level on the bottom of the bow in like little pins. That's a really good feature. Being able to range it, and the torque indication is a huge deal because we're shooting fixed blade broadheads,
Mm-hmm.
and so and we're shooting big fixed blade broadheads.
Big fixed blade broadheads. And like you said, in the saddle, I mean, you really in a saddle most of the time. You're in great position to make great form, but there are some times when you're in that great position, the deer moves to a bad spot, and you've got to twist a little bit or turn. And I remember the very first time I started shooting out of a saddle when I would go to my weak side, but instead of crossing over, I would spin back around all the way around. And the farther I go that way, the more I tend to shoot to the right.
Yeah, because you're like twisting.
Because I'm twisting, and that'll show up and it'll allow me to.
It'll blank at you, which is really cool. The other thing that I found out because of video was when I twist up like that, I think my left arm collapses a little because I'm like squeezing in, and I was getting some contact between my binocular harness and my bowstring. And so I had one of the deer that I shot. I felt like I made a great shot, and the impact spot was bad. And I was like, WTF, man, like that's not normal. Like, if I make a bad shot, I can feel like when that shot breaks in the wrong spot. Definitely not the case here. And so I thought I smoked it, and I was surprised to see where the arrow went. In watching the footage, I'm like, well, no doubt. Like the string came up and made like a 90-degree turn because of the way I was all twisted. And so I actually took that bino harness and lowered it down much more because it was just up too high in general. I just got it, I like to keep it up high out of the way of the bridge, but it had really ridden up way, way, way too high. So I thought that was pretty cool to be able to see that and make adjustments accordingly.
Yeah, one of the other good reasons it's awesome to film, right?
Well, now with the new 360
that 360
camera, it's freaking sweet.
Yeah, Jared from Tethered, he's putting out some cool content with that, and it's making me want to go over because I don't love having a camera arm.
Dude, I've been filming my hunts for probably like 10 years now. I was actually looking at some footage the other day from like 2013.
It looks like my current footage. Oh my god!
My footage from 13 was pretty bad. Not that my footage now is any good, right? It's just the equipment got better. The Indian's still the same, just a nicer arrow. Sounds like some of the DMs I get.
Oh my god!
But anyways, so without fail, still, when a deer's coming in, I just sometimes want to be like, screw the camera.
I know.
Like I'm in kill mode, like the switch is flipped. And so to be able to have like newer technology where you can like, have a GoPro on your head and the 360 camera and not have to worry about it is pretty cool.
That kind of brings up a point that we were talking about earlier today. You said, sometimes you just want to go into kill mode. Like we talked about, we've got buddies who, look, they're out there and hunting, and some of our listeners too, and their main focus is, let's say, only just killing deer. Some people only want to kill big bucks, and if they see a 160, they're like, well, I really wanted a 165, so I'm gonna pass. And that's, I think the beauty of being in the outdoors and hunting is you can pick and choose what you want to do.
And how you want to do it.
And how you want to do it too. Whether it's like Josh with a longbow all the time or, with a crossbow and a Garmin sight. However you want to do it. And you can pick and choose which animals that you want to shoot. I think both of us, I don't know how we haven't, some people say, oh, I've shot enough deer that now all I want to shoot is larger deer, big bucks, and I've kind of graduated. And I'm like, well, man, I don't know. I just, when they come in, I still just like to shoot them. I like to shoot deer.
Yeah. You and I hit that off like right away early on. And when we first met each other, it's like, we've both shot a pile of deer, like a lot. And I'll tell you, like, yeah, like this year I really want to shoot a good buck, but I will also, without fail, go back to that white oak, like flat, and I'll go shoot 4 does because I cannot help myself. I love shooting deer with a bow and arrow. To me, there is nothing better in the world. Other people out there can do whatever they want, and I like shooting, good bucks too. But if a deer comes in that gives me that ooh feeling, like I want to shoot it, it might be 108 inches. It might be 180 inches. Like, I don't care what it scores at all.
If it blows at me, it's dying.
Yeah, it's getting shot right here.
Right in the face. Yeah. If I can get a shot.
Yeah.
But if I can get a shot on a deer, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a spike and it's my last buck tag. Yeah. You are going to die.
Yeah, and like I get, if I'm in a place where, they're like, hey, we're managing for deer, like don't shoot anything under this or that. Like, I'm respectful of that. I get it.
Sure. But on our property, it's like,
I'm smacking deer.
Yeah.
I love shooting deer.
Yeah.
There's nothing better in my opinion. And I feel like, and again, to each their own. And like, if you're out there and you only want to shoot a 171 plus or whatever, like go for it, man. Like good for you. But I feel like some people get lost in the score and they're losing sight of
why are you out
the
there?
Pursuit.
Right. Because
especially if you're in an area, sorry to cut you off, which I just did. Especially if you're in an area like this, where it's like, okay, our buddy just killed a 172-inch deer, like half a mile that way.
Shout out Justin Wilson.
Yeah, our good bourbon buddy, awesome bourbon, like phenomenal, like a phenomenal deer of a lifetime, probably. Like
Pushing Boone and Crockett,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, like just a skosh under, amazing. But those deer are few and far between around here, right? Like
they're few and far between, really
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, but especially here. I mean, you're talking about shrinking the game to these tiny parcels. It's very difficult to get out and get after them. Like,
it'd be one thing if there was each one of our properties was 500 acres, 300 acres, 500 acres.
Iowa, and we're growing the deer.
I mean,
and managing them.
That's different.
Yeah, but to like, I feel like if people are saying they only want to shoot big deer, and you're not hunting in a spot where that's even like feasible, like realistic,
then you're going out into the woods and wasting your time.
You're crazy.
Like
you're just not. I mean, and again, like if that's what you want to do, or if you find a deer like that and you go after them, like there are deer that our buddies, Lee and Drew in Atlanta pass that I'm like, I'm texting Lee all the time. Like, dude, I would shoot that deer. Like, let me at him, right? And of course he's like, zero chance, big boy, because he knows that I would actually shoot that deer.
Yeah.
He's trying to manage them. But and they're after a certain class of deer that, we would love to shoot, but like, dude, I'm not passing a 140. I just am not doing it. Unless I'm in a spot where somebody has invited us to go hunt, and hint, hint, we'll bring beer. I'm respectful of the landowner's decisions and everything, but I just like shooting stuff with a bow.
Yeah. And it's kind of like if you live in Iowa, but you consider yourself a saltwater fisherman, right?
Exactly.
How often are you bill fishing? You're going to have to fly there every single time you go. I mean, you can't be a surfer and live in Iowa.
Yeah,
you just can't.
Fishing the farm pond for bonefish.
Right?
Not going to happen, right?
This is the mud flat here.
Yeah, I only catch sailfish.
I'm not even going to target that 12-pound bass because I'm looking for a marlin on my farm pond. And it's very similar. I mean, if we lived in Louisiana and we were surrounded by swamps, we'd probably be waterfowl hunters.
Yeah.
But we're surrounded by just billions of deer.
White-tailed buck deer.
Whitetails. And look, we have unlimited tags. So I want to try to see if I can reach that.
I'm going to try to fill all of them.
Which deer do you want to shoot? All of them?
All of them. I'll have them all.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I don't feel bad either because Hunters for the Hungry loves me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the coolest thing about what we're doing is it goes to like help people in need. We're moving deer that could be hit by a car. Like every deer we shoot could have been the one that stood in front of, some poor girl driving home's car or dude, whatever. And people eat them. Yep. I eat them. You eat them. Our families eat them. It's pretty freaking awesome. Also, it brings up a point that we were talking about earlier, and I said, hold that thought. I had a breakthrough with my shooting because we were talking about this. When you shoot an animal, like everybody in archery has this pursuit of like the surprise shot, right? I've had a major epiphany with my shooting. And not that I've like had an issue shooting, but I started shooting a hinge a long time ago because I was getting target panic where I wanted like the bow to go off when the pin was on target. For years I shot a hinge. Really broke that. To now where I'm hallelujah, I'm healed.
You're cured.
I've exercised
the demons.
Which is great. So I'm back to the thumb release because I like having my release clipped to my D-loop on the bow and like just not be there. But I started thinking like, look, a sniper like gets a surprise shot, but he's actively squeezing.
Exactly.
Right. And so I was watching some videos online, and there's one guy, RC Archery, Robert something, who, I mean, started on the Archery Talk forums, RCR Archery. I remember him back in the day. I don't know him personally, but I was watching a video because I always was under the impression that you had to shoot by just pulling and just having the release go off. And my problem was when trying to do that, I would start pushing with my hand and I was missing everything left, right? And I was talking to some other guys about this, like the Ginger Ninja from Tethered, Jared. And he was like, no, man, you just squeeze your hand. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're supposed to do that. And so he's like, no, it's fine, you know? And I'm like, so I start doing some research, and sure enough, like for me, what's most comfortable is like just trying to touch, like slowly touch the tip of my thumb to the tip of my ring finger.
Sure.
Right. And basically just squeezing. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, that's what a sniper does. Like, I might not know when the shot's going to break, like whether it's here or whatever. But I know that it's like, okay, pin's there, squeeze, 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 and it's going to go off.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Light bulb moment for me shooting-wise. Just trying to touch. And people do it differently. Like, I know Jared likes to try and just squeeze his ring finger. You know, and different strokes for different folks. But for me, dude, that tip of the thumb to the tip of the ring finger squeezing for a thumb trigger, awesome.
And now you know when the bow is going to go off. You don't go through that panic of am I giving enough back tension, enough pressure, have I rotated enough or whatever.
Because I know it's going to go. Like, I know that just keep doing what you're doing, it's going to break. And now I don't have to focus on anything other than my pin. Just let that pin float right around the target, and I don't have to worry about anything from like bow backwards. Like it's going to do its thing.
Yeah, and if you notice, you know when you've executed a good shot, because I still use an index finger release. I showed it to you the other day. It's 20
from
years
like
old.
1940.
Yeah, it's 20 years old. I've changed the straps out on it, but it's so comfortable for me, and it's got a really swept back trigger, and I wrap my entire index finger around it, so I'm basically just squeezing my hand, and it's very similar to that. And you execute a good shot when after the shot you can't remember executing, you can't remember pulling the trigger or however you squeezing or whatever you do, but it happened exactly when you wanted to do it. If you are surprised that it went off, you didn't actually know when it was going off. And I think that's crucial when you have a live animal there. If it's a paper target or 3D, that's a little different. The thing's not moving.
Yeah.
There's no other factors in there. But on an animal, sometimes you need to make a quick decision and a quicker shot or a slower shot. So you need to be able to know exactly when that is. And when we talked earlier about snipers, when you're punching paper, it is definitely different than a live target. You have to consciously shoot. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
Now, you may not remember. I don't remember actually pulling the trigger. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing, because it was just a muscle movement and execution. But I totally agree. And I've tried to shoot index finger releases that, are straight and with the trigger straight, or it's farther forward. And I feel like I'm reaching and pulling. That's a problem for me. That's why I don't want to get rid of this release, because
Don't do it.
it's so deep in my hand that all I have to do is squeeze, and it's very similar to those releases.
Yeah, I think there are definitely tons of situations I think back on where a deer walks out, and then I'm like, it's in a bunch of brush, and I know my shooting window, and I'll be like, right there is where you can die. And like, I'm already at full draw, but then it's like, meh, meh, and like stop them and smash them.
And you need to be able to shoot then, not, okay, pull through. He takes a step.
Well, that's what happened to me because I was hunting with a hinge up until a couple weeks ago. And there was one moment with a deer where, I'm perfect on her. I'm letting it rotate. I'm rotating, and then she takes a step, and I've gone from a 12 ring shot to a paunch shot, which is the worst shot to have in the suburbs. And I'm just like, I got down out of that tree, and thankfully, She ran like 50 yards and bedded up. I shot another deer. She just stayed there, and I was able to get out and go get her. Hopefully this microphone is going to pick up little broccoli farts.
I was like, these things are not canceling that out. There, buddy.
Is that chair creaky?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, that shot went from perfect to awful in the matter of a half second, and it was just because the shot was breaking. And I'm not like shooting at a walking deer. I mean, she's feeding, and she just happened to take a step.
Well, there's a couple things that are going on there. Number one, you kind of described it this way. You're like, I'm pulling, I'm rotating, I'm rotating, I'm pulling. It's the process from, okay, I'm going to shoot, because you're making a conscious decision to shoot. That's when you start your rotation or your squeeze or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a time lag there. When you actually have, I'm not talking about punching a trigger or anything like that, or just, jerking something back. You have to be able to decide. When I decide in my mind, okay, I'm shooting, it needs to go off then.
Yeah.
Not, okay, I'm shooting. All right, now let me go through a process. That process takes time, and there's just too many things that can go on there. Well, really, there aren't very many things. Movement can happen.
Yeah, movement is bad.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. Like you're aiming at a deer where it's at one spot, stationary. That's where and when you want to shoot, not half a second from now or a second or two from now. You want it to happen then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something else that we talked about after a hunt the other day when we shot a couple deer.
Yeah, we loaded up. We had 4 deer in the back of the truck. And
Thank God your buddy wanted those.
Right? So what happened was, I think you texted me and said, got a deer down. And then you're like, well, I got a second one down. And I'm thinking, all right, well, my first thought was, liar, you didn't shoot anything. And I almost texted you back, liar, because every time I text you back and say, oh, you're a liar, you're like, oh, yeah, I was just joking. But then you're like, okay, third deer down. I'm like, shit. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get down. Let me go help him. And it was early.
Yeah,
it
was like 5 after 8.
Yeah. And you were like, no, just stay. You're probably going to get a shot. Well, I mean, within 5 minutes, a deer came in, and it was quartering away really hard. And I shot, and I heard it go down. Like, we're good to go. So I followed the blood trail, went over and found the deer. And I looked on the entrance side, and I'm like, there's no entrance. I didn't see an entrance anywhere on the deer. And then I looked right by, it was kind of high, like right in front of the pelvis was the entrance. I'm like, geez, that thing was quartering away pretty far. But the exit wound was
perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
she went
armpit.
Like 40 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect shot, And you were like, geez, did you realize she was quartering away that far? And I said, no, I mean, I knew she was quartering away, but we talked about, the quote unquote picking a spot on a deer. Mm-hmm. I don't do that. And this is how I explained my shot placement to you that day, is that I don't pick a spot on an animal, like pick a rib or pick a hair or anything like that. Or, some people we've talked about trying to visualize the exit. I don't do either one of those, because I'm not trying to shoot the exit, and I'm not trying to shoot somewhere on the animal. I'm trying to shoot a grapefruit-sized target inside that animal's chest. So no matter which angle that deer is facing, I still want to shoot the grapefruit no matter what. So I aim at the grapefruit.
And you literally see like a 3D grapefruit there.
Yes. Yeah, and it's, where it is.
Yeah.
And
I've seen it once or twice.
Yeah, you've hit it a couple times.
Once.
So when they're broadside or when they're quartering away, it's still there in the same spot on the deer. It's just your entrance is going to be in a different spot. So I don't want to guess where my entrance should be.
Yeah, you just want to run it through the middle of that grapefruit.
Yeah, just visualize where that grapefruit is, because it's, right above the heart, right in the pump station. I just look to where that's going to be, where my arrow has to pass through to get there. Inevitably, it ends up being, near that offside leg somewhere there when they're quartering away. But it really made me think about that day, because I was like, geez, this thing really was quartering away. But it was on a 3D target, it would not have been a 12 ring. That would have been a 5, right?
Yeah.
But it killed the deer within 40 yards, and it was perfect. I mean, right through top of the heart, lungs, and just, it was game over. So when we talked about that, I think I used to think about, like on a quartering away shot, that opposite leg, and aim at that opposite leg, but then I got to the point where I'm like, I'm not aiming at a leg. I don't want to shoot the leg.
Yeah,
I want to shoot the heart and the lungs.
It's kind of too much to think about in the moment. And it's funny. I've been that really kind of resonated with me. So I've read that before. It's been written a little differently than that, but basically, like, you see the 3D, grapefruit or orange or whatever size target you want to hit, and you just are kind of like watching that, and you can kind of see where in the deer, like, its structure is protecting that, and you know where your arrow needs to go, and you just shoot it.
Yeah.
It's really pretty simple.
Yeah. And, you shot that one deer facing you.
Yeah.
Like
so the first deer came in, shot her perfect. She went and fell off the side of a mountain and died.
Yeah, we literally had to break that animal. Thank God I had my frame pack.
Thank God.
And then I had to carry it out.
Thank God you were there. Yeah, you packed her out. Well, it's not like you then got the small one to drag.
Yeah, and then we get up to the other 2 deer, and you're like, hey, yeah, I'm going to go, field dress this other deer. And I'm like, great, awesome, because that deer that you shot this one right here is little. I have meat in my pack, and I'm dragging out the little one.
Yeah. So I shot the first one. She ran and died. The other 2 didn't know what happened, and one started running up the hill. And so I was just like, meh, 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 to just stop him. While I knocked another arrow, and this deer she turned and was hard quartered away. And I didn't take the shot because she was like dead quartered away with her head facing back. And so I just started going like, meh, meh, and she started stomping in, trying to figure out what happened. And I thought that she was just going to turn broadside and kind of give me just a shot. I'm already at full draw, like I'm ready to rock. Instead, she turned 180 degrees, starts walking dead towards me. And she got to about 12 yards and like stomped her hoof and picked her head up like that. And as soon as she did that, she just opened all that up. And I was like, all right, that'll work.
And the reason why that worked also is because she was elevated up high, like almost on the same level as you. If you try to shoot them from a tree down like that, it just doesn't work.
That shot. No,
it doesn't work very well at all.
I do not advocate for taking that shot. I feel comfortable taking that shot because I've killed a pile of deer. I know where to aim. The situation was okay for it. We were on a big property that like allowed for that, and very vital shot. I mean, she ran she died in sight.
Yeah, and you got to pass through. It went hot dog ways, not hamburger ways. But
it did go hot dog ways. And she was a big doe.
Yeah.
And that arrow blew all the way through her and was disgusting.
Oh, that was, literally, it was a shit show.
Yeah.
That was literally a bad one.
And gave her a new butthole. It literally came out of her butthole.
Yeah, right next to it.
Yeah. Right between the playground and the sewer system.
My God. The stink of the pink.
Let's just say that if God was a city planner. But yeah, I mean, and then the little one didn't stand a chance. But yeah.
No. I think the broadhead hole was about as big as that deer's heart.
Yeah, she was a little one, which is the one you got to carry out because you had meat on your back.
Yeah. No, but that was an awesome hunt. I mean, we had a pile of deer in the back of my truck, and my buddy was like, because I called him. Well, we were going to take him to Hunters for the Hungry.
Yeah.
And then I've got a buddy who he'll take deer and he likes to, give it to friends and family, but he'll also give it to some people who,
need
it, right? Yeah. Well, I called him and I said, hey, do you want a deer? He was like, oh, absolutely. I said, do you want 4? He went, yeah, absolutely. I said, perfect.
Yeah. I was like setting up my
5-minute drive. Yeah, you had already pulled your cargo rack off and we were ready to load it up. And I said, hey, you were like, what? Put that back on?
Which
don't
was
even have to bloody
awesome because it was like 10:50 and I needed to pick my daughter up at school at like 11:15 that morning. I rolled up to school covered in blood, camo,
We were supposed to actually record a podcast that day too.
Yeah.
But that, well, I mean,
like
it was worth, all of that effort to, when you shoot one deer, it's like, boom, in and out, done. 2, that's a little more work. 4, even with 2 people, 4 deer is it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But no, it was fun. And yeah. And then on trail cams, like the next day,
Dude,
they're deer all over the place, the same spot.
The spot that I was hunting in and the spot that you were hunting in, but definitely the spot that I was hunting in, that night I was getting text messages like in daylight of deer back there on those oaks. When we have years like this, you just have to make hay because the deer are on those oaks. And if you find the oaks, there's nowhere better to be.
No, because there's no ag here.
Right.
The only ag that we have is landscaping yards.
Literally. Yeah.
Literally, that's the only, So, but yeah, that was definitely a fun hunt. I mean, and then right after that, 2 days later, you shot 2 the next day.
Yeah.
A couple days later, I shot 1. A couple days before that, we had Scott out at the meat factory. He shot 1. Josh had deer. I mean,
everywhere
under him.
Yeah.
Like they were straight down, so he couldn't shoot. They were that close. He's picked this one persimmon tree. It's called the Kill Tree, and I think he might actually be going there tomorrow night. So what's up with that, man? He should be going deer hunting with us.
Yeah. Why is he not?
Well, I think his wife does these like birth photography sessions. Man, they're more
a shit show.
more power to her because, man, that stuff is graphic.
It's gross.
But, she does it artfully, respectfully, and things like that. But some of these women are like, legs out like that. Like, come on, take the picture. Take the picture. It's about to come out. Like,
It's crowning.
I'm like, what? But so she's basically on call all the time.
Yeah.
And I was blown away at how many people want their pictures taken. They want everything documented. Like, put it up on your wall in the nursery, I guess. I don't know, but I mean, she is like in demand in the Northern Virginia area for doing birth photography. So she's on call like every day this week because she has a couple clients who are like ready to pop.
Yeah.
So it kind of screwed
COVID.
up. Yep.
Yeah. So we have the tethered guys. Greg and Jared from Tethered are coming in, and a handful of camera guys, and the 4 of us plus your dad are going to Bugling Pines, which is a piece of property on the Eastern Shore.
Yep.
Top secret location.
Top secret. Don't come there. You are not invited.
Stay away. And
we're gonna hunt sika deer there.
And maybe a giant whitetail.
There are some nice whitetails there.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like if I said, we talked about it earlier, like, oh, if a 130 walks by, I'm going to shoot it. But like, if a 130 walks by there and a big stag is close by coming in, I might pass the whitetail to shoot a stag.
I might not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Sika's got me, man. They're bugling like crazy right now, too.
That's going to be awesome.
They are screaming.
It's going to be a fun hunt. Plus, it's just fun. Like,
do something different.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
And you and I, like, we hunt a ton together, but we never get to really go to any, like, destination hunts. And so it'll be a lot of fun to, like, go over to the shore. It's a short drive. It's like less than 2.5 hours. We'll be able to load up on critters. Might be a couple beverages consumed.
Could be.
And just hang out.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, man. So we'll do some recording for that. We might even try to record a podcast down there. Only thing is, if we do, Greg's going to want to get in there and just run his mouth the whole time. No.
At least now there's a chair for him. I don't know if he could see over the table.
We'll just sit him in Jared's lap.
Yeah, play Santa Claus.
Greg can stroke Jared's beard.
Also, moving forward with the podcast, we're talking about the guest chair. Which we now have. We used to not have a chair because we're narcissistic and didn't even think about that. But, I feel like everybody's got podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there. And, a lot of them, the guest circuit is very similar. Like you and I, we've done a ton of podcasts on other people's podcasts. It's the same conversation. It's really not. It's too sales pitchy. Like, I just don't like it, right? Not that we're giving a sales pitch. Like, when somebody else comes on, they're using the opportunity to take the platform to sell, a product or whatever they're doing. And
so a lot of these products we use and things like that.
Great.
It's like, they're good products. I don't know. We're doing this podcast just to share what we do and our conversations, and people are asking, like, they want to come hunt with us, they want to come hang out with us, but we have families, and I can't just have people over my house every week, you know?
Sorry, guys. My wife is not putting up with it anymore. But yeah, and it's a fun way to talk through, what we're doing and, what we're going to try and implement moving forward. So like we have the Sika hunt coming up. We're looking forward to that. We need to go get our cameras out on some scrapes and kind of move them off of food sources onto more kind of Bucky related areas, figure out what's going on. But I think it's going to be more fun for us podcast wise to just talk with people about what we're doing and then like our take on what's going on in the outdoor industry, or just the world,
kind of current events of the world, or the industry right now and what's going on. And a lot of those topics, they can be very current, but some of them are, they're kind of timeless topics. I mean, talking about like, I don't know, Insta thoughts out there, just, selling TNA.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's like, hey, look at me and shoot my bow sight.
How many people out there do you think actually care what an Insta chick tells them? So like, if you look at a really hardcore DIY hunter like Andy May, right? Like I feel like if Andy May tells me how to go hunt a bed, I'm interested in what he is like, or tips, tactics.
Even if Andy said, look, the best piece of gear that I'm using right now is X, I'm going to go, well, I should probably get that kit.
Yeah.
If someone who, maybe doesn't hunt very much says you should buy this or you should use this, I don't know.
If you're a chick that's posting bikini pictures of you shooting a bow, I'm probably less inclined to listen to what you have to say.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because they're not like an expert on the matter is all. Not because they're female or anything, but I feel like a lot of people in our industry are not interested in getting advice from people that don't have a track record of success, whether you're male or female.
Well, I think the issue right there is that
I love that my dog is like, what is he doing?
Well, he's
Get out of there.
Probably looking for spiders.
There are no shortage of those down there.
Yeah. I think the big issue is that
through the paint cans.
There is an industry, right? And in any industry, certain things sell. Come on, Wyatt. Good boy.
What are you doing? Hey. Okay, he can be a guest. Listen.
He sounds better than you.
The same slobbering message. Mouth breathing. Not anymore.
Peanut butter. He loves peanut butter, doesn't he?
Crunchy. Yeah. Live dangerously, baby. He's ripping farts. You stink, bro.
No, that's probably you. The broccoli.
Might have been.
Yeah, but, dude, it's with any industry. People are going to want to sell however they can do it.
Yeah, everybody's got an angle.
And they have to find an angle to do so. And whether it's by hiring a model or, being funny, I don't know. Everyone's got a way to do it.
That's where our niche of being funny looking comes in.
Yes, yes. We're not models. We're not funny. But we mix the two together and people are like,
we're so ugly you can't turn away. It's like watching a train wreck.
Keep your clothes on, guys. Keep your clothes on.
No. But yeah, and I mean, that's part of, I think, what we enjoy being is like unbiased. Like, we're not going to tell you guys to do something unless we actually have tried it, used it, and provided a thorough review of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about the bow sight thing. It's like, we're constantly testing gear, trying to figure out what's better because it really matters to us to have success in the woods. And like the difference in a good shot or a great shot or a marginal shot and a great shot is like night and day for us.
You tend to use sites and equipment and things like that. You test them for practicality or usage. I test them for durability.
You are the durable one. Yes.
Let's drop this out of a tree. Let's run over it with a vehicle.
Let's leave it outside for a year.
Leave it outside. Yeah, let's just see what it does.
Billy left his video camera in a tree for like through an ice storm.
It was an ice storm. It was an ice storm, and
it's still working.
And I was like, where's my camera? I'm like, someone stole my freaking camera out of my truck. And I'm like, well, I was with Josh that day and we'd shot a deer and it was actually at the meat factory. I shot a deer, and I just climbed out of the tree, left my camera arm and everything. I'm like, oh, fuck, somebody stole my camera. I was so pissed because I called you. I'm like, dude, I got to buy a freaking camera. I was so mad. And I went back to hunt there, I don't know, a week later after an ice storm. And I'm like, oh.
I found it.
I found you. And, dude, I went up, and I'm like, well, this is wrecked.
Yeah. It's even worse.
Dude, I opened the viewer, and boom, it came on. I'm like, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
And it worked. I filmed that day with that camera. Battery was not dead.
That's crazy.
Went through an ice storm. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
So if Sony, if you guys are listening.
Thanks, Sony.
Yeah, that's crazy, man, that still worked.
You're crazy, man.
You're crazy. I like you. You're crazy.
You took a dart in your neck.
You know what's funny
man.
is there are people out there that have never seen that movie.
Well,
That might be listening to this. No friend of mine, pal.
dude, well, I was with Jimmy. Jimmy and I were hunting last week. We're up in a tree, and he said something about Gitmo. And I was like, oh, you were there? I was like, man, if I went there, the first thing I would think of was A Few Good Men. He was like, oh, that's a movie, right? I'm like, yeah, that's a movie. Like, what have you not seen A Few Good Men? He was like, who's in that? I'm like, oh my God,
He's
Jimmy.
like, well, I was -20 when that movie came out. So.
Yeah, of course. But it's an awesome movie. Yeah, I was sitting in the tree going, dude, you could probably be my kid.
You might be. Did your mom ever go to JMU between the years of 1987 and 1997? I was a freshman and a sophomore for that decade.
Oh my gosh, no! I was there from '97 to 2001. I did do a victory lap, super senior year. That's where I met my wife.
You have to do it. Leaving college in 4 years is like leaving a party at 10 o'clock. Like all the fun stuff happens after 10.
Yeah, you don't even show up until 10. I just wish I could have just gone there and shown up in my senior year and then just extended that for 5 years.
That's what I did. I just showed up. You're like, Mr. Chamberlain, are you in this class?
No. Nope, absolutely not, sir.
Yeah. No.
No, I'm just here.
I'm just here because I saw that girl walk in here.
I just followed her like a bird dog.
You had nose to the ground and all.
You're outside the door putting a scrape down, peeing in it.
Yeah, and then people start using words like illegal and police
Assault.
are on the way. Put your pants on, sir.
Indecent exposure.
Yeah. Aren't you on that list? Now I get to meet my neighbors every year.
You knock on the door and say, "Hi, my name's Taylor. I'm a sex offender."
According to Megan's law, I have to have you sign this paper and introduce myself.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any kids by any chance? Oh God. Terrible.
Yeah. You're not putting a playground in here, are you?
No, because I'm not allowed to be within a mile of
Now I
one.
got to move.
Knock on more doors.
Yeah.
That's how you get all that hunting permission. You knock on every door in every neighborhood.
By the way, I need you to sign 2 pieces of paper. One is hunting permission. This other little one, this is just some pesky requirement from the state.
That little guy? Don't worry about that little guy. Oh, jeez. All right, man.
Well, my Starbucks is out, and now it's ready to be deposited. So hopefully people are looking forward to upcoming current events and some other fun stuff to chat through. It's good to be back. It's good to have the microphones rolling.
Check.
Microphone check. Oh, look, the red light's on, so that's good.
Yeah, we did record. We didn't burn out the SD card or
not yet. There's some time left on it. I feel like that little monitor's so tiny. I don't know how my wife feels.
Wow.
Thank you guys for listening, watching, consuming. If you have any topics that you want covered, leave them below. Let us know.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Mr. William Phillips over here, _ You can find him. Mine's Urban Bowman, and Hang and Hunt Podcast is both of us. So check it out.
Yeah, we'll see you guys, and look forward to also checking out any of the future videos that we have out with Hunt Urban, and I mean maybe even tethered. I mean, if we get some deer on the ground this week, we could have a pretty cool.
I think regardless of success, there will be plenty of videos coming out because there are a pile of camera people coming.
Yeah, I think 4 people are going to be filming. Roof.
Yeah.
Oh boy, keep them rolling, because.
And out of 4 people filming with us there might be about 8 to 12 minutes of footage that's able to be used on different actual
Yeah, the rest of it
platforms.
you can see on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. Check our Patreon.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Later, guys.
Bye.